Calvin T. Mann, leading Emmy, served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to Emmy TV Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
Stories from the pages of time. Stories of
Yeah.
and tragedy, adventure and achievement.
Today we are gonna
In search of history.
enjoy some success.
In the early 20th century, a black middle-class community called Greenwood thrived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, despite segregation and Jim Crow laws.
Booker T. Washington declared Greenwood as a Negro Wall Street of America.
But all of Greenwood's achievements and successes were destroyed during a night of murder and mayhem.
It was never in the history books or anything, and yet it was the biggest riot that we've ever had in America.
As we go in search of history, we'll uncover a little-known event that was one of the worst racial riots in American history, the night Tulsa burned.
So, you know, I like to really get into this whole dynamic. She's on. And so this whole Black Wall Street, right? And it came along in my life. I'm gonna share how it impacted me, Dave. It came along in my life when and welcome, Dave, and Boog is in the building on Veterans Day. We're gonna talk about veterans as well. It came along in my life when I was looking for answers. And I was always, a decent researcher, looking for information. And what happened, I stumbled upon the conversation, like everybody else, right? Mm-hmm. So we stumbled upon the conversation, in this conversation about Black Wall Street. Like it was Black Wall Street, right? Men wore suits, right? Took care of the community, took care of their homes, regardless to what was around them. Like, okay, we only got this much space. If you move too fast to the left, it's something. Mm-hmm. If you move too fast to the right, it was something. So, I've been eating at TD Jakes. TD Jakes tell the story about his grandfather. His grandfather worked, and he would take a shortcut through the water. So he have a little swim to get home. It's every day. And the haters sabotaged the water with barbed wire. And on his swim home one night, he didn't make it home. Right. Wall Street, same thing you see today. We can scream, and the man automatically is going to be in trouble. Right? So Wall Street, that's what it was. I screamed, and he did something that he didn't do, and it cost many people their lives. Many successful businesses, operations, family legacy. Here we are 100 years later, right? And what comes to my mind is when I hear people say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Right? Who don't know the history. All they know is privilege. Right? There are many, many people who witnessed and fought and, went through these dynamics. I think about, in that massacre, I think about what they did with the newspaper and the media, and I think it was South Carolina where they tore down a news station. That's when they began, because blacks was in the Republicans and the Democrats, and so the Republicans was doing well, right? You never seen that many, hasn't been that many black people as Republicans, in the system since, because they used the newspaper to demonize. So the media caught on, so that still today the media still demonizes through articles and media, right? And very judgmental, right? So Black Wall Street had all this success. They talked about how, they had the cleaners, they had the financial institutions, the money was circulating. It kind of reminded me of the 60s, right? When in the city of Detroit, 60s and 70s, they had the city, they had all the businesses, right? But it's something completely different in the two locations. One was a decision, right? We had these decisions where, right? And, I talk to Dr. Hill about this all the time. He said a lot of times people kind of bully these people out of these businesses, right? They threatening them to give up their businesses. Me, I'm almost to the point where I said I witnessed several of these guys just sell, because they had this idea they wasn't going to pass it on to their kids, which was a bad decision. Well, we go back here to Black Wall Street, and Black Wall Street is thriving. Families, education, it's just thriving. And kind of similar to like today, we have this environment, right, where you have an opportunity, you get the same education. So what does we decide to do? We decide to shift the education piece, and now what do they say? The voting, and we keep up. We're going to tell this. Let's call it what it is: white lie. That the voting was right, and we're going to pretend as senators and everybody else like there was something wrong with voting, right? And so this is just me putting on my political hat just for a second. Michigan is a right-to-work state. No one has screamed yet to stop this shit. It's a right-to-work state. It's not helping. People are leaving the state in droves, right? So I just wanted to put that out there. So back to, Black Wall Street. Dave, I don't know how much you know about Black Wall Street, but man, I was working on a design, and I'm still working on it. I want to come up with this a shirt, and I don't want it to be negative. Like everything else, I want to change the way we speak about it. And so today I want to talk about how those businesses did, how they worked with each other, how they talk about, and you can go through your phone. There's a lot of information out there right now to pick it up, but how they shared the information, how they worked together, how they looked out for each other, right? And, things that we wouldn't let into our homes. Alcohol was one of them. In Black Wall Street, that was not something that they really consumed a lot of, right? So you didn't have that in the practice of what was going on. The last 3 years prior to this year, I was shut off and shut down, so I wouldn't be on social media for the days. So from the 31st to the 2nd, I usually was shut down. I wouldn't interact, wouldn't do nothing in protest to Black Wall Street. Of course, I can only think about what difference today does that make, you know? And like anybody else in this journey, I don't want to ever forget, one of the things I do want to have is I want the success look. I don't want the bombed out look. I don't want that. I want the success look. I want the pictures where they're thriving. I don't want the picture where it's bombed out. Because where the pictures where it's thriving says everything. Mm-hmm. The picture where it's bombed out only says everything. So I prefer the picture where it's thriving, you know. And the story is brief. I seen the movie. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Greenwood.
Yes.
Okay, so
when
the
man
movie
say, I ain't even got a Cadillac.
Right.
I ain't got a Cadillac. I ain't got a piano. That's what I mean. He got a piano.
Right.
Yeah, I saw it.
So in Greenwood, right, is another story, right, that was birthed from that, right? So, Miss Heather, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So,
hey, Heather.
Hello.
And so, what are your take? What's your take right now, ladies first?
On just the Black Wall Street or the...
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think that we have a responsibility to know our history. We have a responsibility to be the next part and the next chapter in our history. And I think that as we continue to do our part, we are the ones that change the mindset. And we change the mindset by being the example. We change the mindset by honoring those that have come before us. And we change the mindset when we prepare our next generation and we prepare that legacy to come behind us. So I think sometimes we get caught up in the moments of things,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we don't always plan for the future steps. We look at our ordered steps right now, but we don't always plan for the future steps for those who will come after us. And we don't always honor those who have come before us. And so there's a bridge. And I think when people speak about generational curses, they may also be missing the generational blessings, because we tend to take advantage of the blessings and say how blessed we are. And we talk about the curses, the things that we passed down from generations, but what are we doing to resolve it or fulfill that which was broken? And so I consider that part of our spiritual economy. There's our financial economy, but there's also our spiritual economy. And I think that spiritual economy takes into consideration those who have come before us and those who will come after us. And if you're not looking at those three generations, then we are doing a disservice to ourselves, for those who've come before us and those who will come behind us. So having a healthy spiritual economy also takes into account fixing those things that were broken in our generation and may have been broken in the generation before. I believe it is, righting the wrongs of the previous generation and our generation. And I also believe it's completing those things that were left incomplete in the generation before us and our present generation. So if we fulfill our spiritual economy, then the destiny and the legacy that we leave is a step up for the generation to come. That those generations being our children, and then the children of our children looking up and expecting certain standards to be set for us that sometimes we fall short.
I have a dream, Dave, and my dream was clear. That if we all put our hands to the plow and focus on the very things that's in us, as she just said, our purpose, what it's for, and not chase money, that the economy will chase you. I think what she just said is such a profound, because what has happened is the hopelessness comes in where we feel like there is nothing you can't do nothing without no money, right? Right? But God said money answers to all things, but you can't do nothing without no money, right? And so, just in listening to the various conversations, we forget that process. So here it is. We had Black Wall Street. We come down, attack. We had another something special in another city, attack, right? Here we come down. Here we go, another one, attack. Tuskegee, attack. The hospitals, attack. The massacre for the abortions, right? Attack, right? And what has happened is all these attacks come with reaping. And we've ignored and not saw any of that. We stayed in the pain, and as she said, we were supposed to do things differently. Once you know better, as they say, you should do better, right? So I know that from where I am now to where I was, 20 years ago, that, the person that I am today is different. So Tulsa, 100 years, that whole piece, now we have so many people educated. We have so many people thriving, right? And we're as separate as we've ever been, right? But things are starting to turn where we really starting to work toward looking out for each other, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I said this many years ago. There's nothing wrong with uniting. It is not racist for you to unite. Many people do it all day. Why you, right? And so, thank you, Heather. I think you summed it up very, very well. The Black Wall Street thing is a very, I think it's one of the most beautiful things I've seen we had. And I'm talking over civil rights and all of that. I'm thinking, to me, as much as I've gotten into it and read into it for the years and how it bothered me, it brought me to tears many times. Many times, like, because you feel that. And, you feel that because, it's just like I was, was saying today, no matter how we look at things, no matter what we say, there is no bigger tragedy than the global slave trade. And the fact that we try to excuse it or make it as something or try to change, it bears no excuse. The whole world knows of what was done to our people. Now, for me, it's what we do to each other that means everything to the statement she just made about going forward and doing something for the kids. I was on the phone with Victor yesterday, and me and Victor go back to the 7th grade. And so a young lady from church, at Victor's church, Terry, she wants to do some things. I'm 100% behind encouragement when she wants to get involved, right? And I was like, yes, cool. He said, Cal, I say, I know what's out there. He said, what you mean? I said, the racism, people's prejudice. He said, what do you mean? I said, you know what I'm talking about, Vic. You done ran into it. He said, oh, yeah, sure have. Yeah, people telling him it's a black organization. That's what people telling him. It's a black. Isn't that a black organization? And he was like, what are you talking about? That man, right? He found himself and speaking in the way I said, Vic, it only changed. I had to give him the story. When I was in Oakland County, Oh, it was beautiful. Oh, it was flowers and roses and daisies. As soon as we come to the city, the prejudice kick in, right? And really, it's like I said last week. Here we sit with a solution, and I have to deal with this, and we have to deal with that. See, you over here. If you go help some white kids, you might have to deal with the. Oh man, you love them. You see,
Sold out.
right. Oh man, you know, right? You go over here. I said all of that is conditioning, and they talking to the wrong person. Right. Because where I come from, I bring it all together. I am not a separator. Mm-hmm. You messing with me, everybody at the table. Mm-hmm. If you got a prejudice, you got to go. Mm-hmm. You can't function around Cal with any kind of prejudice or dislike for human beings because I will dismiss you. I will not even participate because that's not what I was taught. It's something in me that brings people together, not apart. So the perfect example, back to the Tulsa, perfect example, no one was there to mitigate. There was no one that was a go-between. Right? They tried. They talked in the office and they listen, man. Listen, this can't be true. Like, relax. And they was like, no, we about to. And it turned over right at the police department. So this began the whole massacre. There was no go-between. They hadn't established anybody that could go between. So when I was at Northwest Airlines, I had the black people come to me and say, hey, Cal, man, you seem to be cool with the white people. You need to tell them, man, such and such and such. And so here come the white guys say, hey, man, hey, you're different. So can you talk to, because we can't have. So one day, the building was froze. Everybody's in the break room. The white is on the left. The black is on the right. And I'm standing there. And I look around. And I'm laughing, right? Because you know me, Dave. This is
They get ready to hear it.
They get ready to hear it. So I said, all right, can I have everybody's attention? Yes, okay. So you asked me to say something to him, and you asked me to say something to them. All y'all bleed, doo-doo, everything the same way. I think it's time y'all got to know each other. And friendships begin to blossom. Now, they didn't see it that way, right? But that's the way it went. And today, friendships have blossomed and still blossom, right, because of work ethic. See, the biggest thing out the airport was about work ethic because you have a perception that black don't work and you have a perception that white don't work, right? They just be chilling. They get perks all the time, you know what I mean? Right? And the bottom line is, that's the conditioning of the people, so you can't get out your own way. Here comes a go-between. One of the major incidents I had at the airport, and then I'll move on, was I was called the N-word in between some cans. Well, I don't play with that word. So I'm like, hey, my man, you blow. It's a holiday. Right? It might have been Memorial Day, right? He whoop up on this tug, get out of the way, N-word. Hey, my man, you know how I beat your... Whoa, who is this? I'm new to the job. I get on the phone, I call, I say, man, this guy over here calling people the N-word, man. Y'all better get this guy. They're like, Cal, get off the... Man, he over here blowed on the N-word. Y'all better get this guy on the microphone, right? Again, that microphone. Baby, TD Jakes, don't drop the mic, right? That platform, right? And I come to find out the guy was cool with another brother. So the brother, was treating this like this was prison. So my man Mike, rest in peace, is gone. Make a long story short, we walking through one day, and he say something for him. And I look at him, and, you know, I snap. I can't say on air what I said, but, you know, where I'm from 8 Mile. You know what I mean? So that part of me came out. And if I catch you if my car break down on the road, I'm going to come looking for you. They like, Cal, yeah, wrong guy. But to make it clear, we don't have go-betweens, right? And the only opportunities that we had was when Dr. Martin Luther King began to speak, right? And the Malcolm X's who began to speak, and the various people. And so everybody say, well, they took them out. Well, we know for a fact it was the government, you know, because Martin Luther King's lawyer wrote the book. Right. You got to get that book, right? Martin Luther King's lawyer wrote the book, right? And so, you know, they put it in the book. Ain't that something? Martin Luther King was assassinated. The government was involved. They put it in the book. They don't talk about it on the media. Amazing. It's amazing. So,
I don't think we read.
Right. Amazing. So, with that, we're going to shift. Heather, thank you so much. Dave, if you have something you want to add to that, you can. I was a little bit all over the place, but I really wanted to let it be known that now, with the way systems are and the racism, you need go-betweens. We must become voices in the solution of this hate process.
Yeah, we all kind of summed it up, so I'll just inject this one piece, is that history is either two things. Either it's life lessons or it's life sentence. And we have to learn how to take the life lessons from the experience of the past in order to navigate it within the future so we can move forward. I mean, navigate in the present and move forward in the future. So a great deal of the things that happened from Wall Street, and we can go even further back than that, and you look at the two, during the 1920s when they had the Great Depression, you can see blacks still in suits, in the suit line. So we had a sense of pride, we had a sense of value, we had a sense of who we were and what we wanted to do and where we wanted to go. Black Wall Street helped us to kind of give a visual to that. Because even you look at Madam C.J. Walker and people like that, Madam C.J. Walker herself was sitting right next to the Vanderbilt, living right next to him. She had 10,000 women working for her. Then she come from dirt poor. So we have always had models through the history, and we always had people to try to tear the model down. And then when you bring the piece up to Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and the other guys that kind of paved the way, Medgar, Everett, and all these different guys, you find that it's always been we can overcome the obstacles that present itself because we take life lessons and we don't let them to be life curses, and we move forward. So here we are, present date. The issue that I see from yesterday to today is that when you need more, you do more. See, there was a need back then. Now we have an illusion that we don't need, so we don't do more. If you can drive a $100,000 car, I saw a sister just purchased the new Mercedes Jeep. I call it a Jeep. If you can purchase a $100,000 car, then your ideal of where you at says, I don't need nothing. I got it all. I don't need to fight. I don't have to get into the calls. I don't have to do all that because I have arrived. But that's an illusion. And if you go back to the biblical time when Jesus was in the wilderness, Satan created illusions. If you do this, I can give you all this. Because if I give you all this, this is called diversion. I can distract you from your responsibility to your cause, your purpose, and in the end result, now you lost in the wilderness. So, this is what has happened. We have kind of got caught up into this materialism and thinking this makes us feel like we arrived. Case in point, and I'm not knocking anybody who smoke. I've noticed that what happens to black people when they arrive, they assimilate to the white concept. And I'm not taking away anything from that ideal, but we think that, okay, so now I'm rich. Now I should smoke a big cigar. I should drive a $100,000 car. I should live in a $500,000 home. There's nothing wrong with that. But once we get there, we think we now, if I like to say, we now think that we are part of this group. And segregation was not necessarily the wrong thing because it caused you to take care of your own. But when we assimilate into a group of people who didn't really take heed to us anyway. Next thing you know, we're caught up, and now we lost sight of our focus and our purpose. As one, if you were a family member, it is wrong for me to feed Calvin's family, your family, and don't take care of my own. So we have to make sure we take care of our own. Then we can assimilate to everybody else. You sending your kids out there to get into the world and start doing things that's not lined up with the family values and principles. Next thing you know, they're lost. So now the generational, as Heather said, curse continues on because we have no foundational purpose. So we have to take life lessons and not let them be life sentences to keep us from being able to grow and mature into who we need to be. And I think when you look at ideals like Black Wall Street, those people understood the importance of unity, a singular unit to build upon before you assimilate into other units.
Thank you, Dave.
Indeed.
So that segue us into your territory, Dave. This is welcome to the second half of the show. This is Veterans. Yeah. Right, today is Veterans Day.
Yeah.
Yes, and my brother did a live bit with the system and has plenty to tell. Right, and it makes no bones about it. He is here to tell, right? And so first, I want to thank him and El Book for their service, because if not for their contribution, we're not on this microphone, and we're not helping no kids or nothing because of these wars that they participated for freedoms. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Dave, I'm glad I said that. Heather's dad was a veteran as well. I got a funny story. I took him out one time, right? It was for, Veterans Day, right? So, I took him out. We going to get something to eat, right? And so, we get together. We get over there. He say, is you bringing me over here to feed me to ask my daughter's hand in marriage, right? I said, no, man, I ain't got to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage. That move been made already. I just got to talk to your daughter. You the one just got to participate. I know my role. He laughed. But he was a veteran. Good man. Good man. Legacy, right? And, shout out to Mr. Miller. Thank you very much. So, Dave, this your flow. This your show.
Yeah, well,
the veterans are doing some things. You did some things today. Share what you did today, brother.
Yeah, today we fed the homeless veterans and families specifically, which turned out to be a really amazing event. And we try to do this. This was out of Pontiac, Michigan. We had the gentleman by the name of Jerry Jackson, who's on Jesse and Arbor, and he usually sells different meals and things of that nature. But he supported us, and we had quite a few people. We had Representative Brenda Carter, state rep. We had the councilman, Mr. Carter. We had Gary Peterson's rep. I'm blocking his title, but he too was, I think his name was Jackson. And so we had quite a few people come out and give support and, have discussions about the importance. We had Oakland Press come out. They interviewed everybody. And they asked, various questions of the importance of, why we do what we do. And I tried to explain to them, at least from my side. We had one of the major person out there is Bill Maxey, who is like a social activist. He's been out there for a long time. He's almost like the rock star in Pontiac, you know what I mean? Especially when it comes on to veteran affairs. And so they asked various questions about, the different generations, how now my generation would be of the Vietnam era. I didn't go to Nam, but I was the last of that group. And the training now that has changed from when you had to sign up, and you get the draft, to present date where you volunteer. And do the young people today give value to the veterans and what they have done and the freedoms they enjoy? And I always like to come back and say, I don't put that heavy responsibility on them, because you have to consider if they're not being taught the value of a veteran. They don't know nothing about a veteran. They say, you wear your uniform, that's it.
Right.
So it's, so we discussed that the transition of what has changed between the military personnel coming in today and the military of the years gone by, and the value of the different groups the Tuskegee Airmen, the civil rights soldiers, the Harriet Tubmans who worked doing the civil rights, not civil rights, I went into the middle, the Civil War, that's what I'm trying to find the word. So you look at those people who fought for us and our freedoms, and so we look at this thing called, and that's when this whole Memorial Day came about, was based on during the Civil War, that they wanted to give credence to the people who lost their lives in war. So Veteran Day is about us who live. And so with that being said, it gives a different type of look at how soldiers, the value of soldiers and what they do and how they make a difference so we people can enjoy the freedoms we have. I say when you think about where you go, anywhere you go, some soldier died for you or put their life on the line for you, because at the end of the day, if they didn't do that, when we go to some of these other countries or the freedoms we enjoy and take for granted, it's not happening in these other countries, you see. So we have a lot of privilege based on these soldiers that put their lives on the line. Go ahead.
No, that's... I'm just listening. I mean, because this is your moment, right, David Pedersen.
So yeah, so I value. I didn't want to come out the military. I did 37 years. I thought that this was one of the better lives for me. I found my niche, where I could lead soldiers, I could develop people, I could be developed, I could mature, I can learn things from all walks of life. My whole ideal about the military was my avenue from a poor boy from Detroit, being able to see the world abroad and not go through the experience of just reading in a book what life's all about. But go to countries, areas where you see it on TV, I see it in real life. And as I saw it in real life, then I realized something about being in the military. You realize that everybody bleeds the same color blood. See, when the rounds come in and you get hit, I ain't yet to see a white man bleed white blood. I ain't never seen an Asian bleed, yellow blood, if you want to call it that. I never seen that. What I seen was people that bleed the same way I do. And when the rounds come in, you forget about you're black, you're Asian, you're white. You start to realize the brotherhood, the sisterhood that exists. And again, you start to see what I call the camaraderie of us working together. It's a unit. We move as one unit. We're not divided. So my transition out here from the military to here was a very difficult transition, because what I saw was a lot of division here in the civilian life. People biting. You got still human behavior. But at the end of the day, this is what I always said about when you bring a soldier in and you do basic training, when you get through with them, now I think it's 8 weeks. It used to be 12. When you get through with your 8 weeks to train the basic training, for that day on that parade field, everybody's on the same page. And we take people from all walks of life, and they come in on the day one, and they got attitudes. Some got gratitude, some just bad, some will knock your brains out. It's just all kind of personalities and behavior come in. But you watch this transition, you watch this change, and in the end, unlike going to prison, you really do have a transformation. You really do have a person now who's being rehabilitated to something that God intended them to be the best they could be. And the people, you find their talents, their skill sets. What one person can't do, somebody else can do. I used to always say, when I watch my soldiers, I want to see what your real skill sets are. So I'm not going to have you, who are computer tech, behind a 249 missing everything. I need you to get behind that computer. But I need to know that. And I love to find soldiers and find what they love to do versus what they have to do. Because when you find something that somebody love to do, you're going to get the maximum out of it. But you got to know your soldiers. So, and then training young troops to come in. It's a funny thing. When I was 30 years old, a friend of mine told me, "You don't have enough experience under your belt." I said, "What?" I said, "I've been in the Army X, Y, yeah, I did this and did that." He said, "You don't have enough experience in the belt." Now, he was old school. He had been out of the military, but we was having this conversation. When I turned 40 and I stood before my troops, I heard his voice. Literally, I heard his voice. I said, "Oh, now I know what he means." Because I had accumulated not just education, but I accumulated experiences from different walks of life. Your experience. So my philosophy is the same. At the end of the day, everybody is a book. and each one got a chapter. And the only time that book closes up when you transition to God. But in the meantime, I don't know your first 3 chapters. So I have to learn about your first 3 chapters to be able to know who you are in this present chapter. Now I can know how to navigate and work with you. They asked the question, how you do 37 years and never got reprimand? I say, because I learned something. The military is just administrative work. We just do what we do, make things happen. I had to learn about people. Once I learned about people, their egos, their desires, their wants, their insecurities, when I started learning about people, I started knowing how to navigate and not get myself in these pickles. So again, either you're going to have life lessons or life sentences. So I pass the life lessons on to the troops that come in, so now they can be prepared. Now you got a unit. They call it a unit. A unit is one. We're one, working together. So the military, some people... Still, some of us old school guys say they did something wrong when they, got rid of the draft. Not because we were trying to make soldiers be weapons, but the thing was we took boys, more so, we took boys and watched them transition to men. At 22 years old, I can bring a kid out of the military and put him in a college campus room, and he's going to be distinguished from everybody else who's never been there. He's going to know how to walk. His walk is different. His talk is different. His discipline is different. His focus is different. He's mission driven. So the military does a lot of great things. We just have to get away from the idea we're just killing machines. Now, there's another disservice to the military now. I mean, there is a disservice to the military. That's what they asked me at the Oakland Press. So I suffer from PTSD and TBI. You probably would know that because I don't display a lot of that. But if you saw me when I first come home, matter of fact, one time I got angry. I didn't even know I got angry. They said, you see him? He looked like a black hawk. All his muscles and I was bodybuilding, all his muscles just kind of grew. They said I was angry, but I didn't realize that. But that's how jacked I was. They didn't do what they needed to do, was to help people through the transition from the military, from a war zone. You prepare me to be a killing machine. You got 2 missions in the military. You either going to be killed, or be either killed or be killed. You are a machine. You are a weapon. But you don't teach us how to turn it off. So now they're starting to. But my last tour in Afghanistan, I run medical units. But my last tour in Afghanistan, I ran a mental health unit. So it was the combat stress team. So we would set up different sites, prevention and where the prevention team would go around to all the different units to see how soldiers are doing. Because remember, I remember telling the soldier of mine, once you kill, and I'm not going to get too depth of this, but once you have to kill your first person, if you see their eyes and life leave their eyes, you will never forget the experience. Because see, troops watch TV, right? And they think, oh my God, we going to go over there, we going to kill all these people, blah, 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 blah. Rambo, right? They said, no, this ain't Rambo, brother. You're going to find out the real deal. But they think that. So I would ask questions like, have you ever shot anybody? No. You ever stabbed anybody? No. Especially my Caucasian brothers, So, and I said, have you ever had a fight? Well, no, not really. I was like, so you think you're going to go in these countries, they live, breathe at 12. They're killing machines. And you think you're going to go over here and do this? This is not a joke. This is the real deal. So I had one soldier. Lo and behold, unfortunately, he had to go through this experience. And he saw the breath leave the man's eye. For 3 weeks, he lived with nightmares. He was terrified. He said, I can't get him out. I can't get my eyes. I said, yes. Because here's what you don't take into account as a soldier. You can take a man's life, even out here in civilian life. You can say, well, I was defending myself. When all the smoke cleared, you took a life. And that's not what you're designed to do. Now you become Cain killing Abel. And you have to live with the voice. As you say, the voice is coming from the blood in the ground. So, trying to teach our soldiers not to get caught up in these things that make you end up struggling when you transition from the civilian life to war zone back here was a big problem. So we as a combat stress unit taught transitional changes so you can prepare to come back out here and be halfway healthy. In your days, you probably heard, Uncle John is crazy. He that crazy veteran. He all jacked up. He shell-shocked. You see, they don't call it that now. But see, nobody was teaching them this. So,
or helping them.
Right. So now our mission is to try to help. That's why what I'm doing, what Bill Maxey's doing, others are doing, is to try to help them. And we're pushing hard at the VA. We now, with the Vet Center, we're getting more help for them. It's a challenge.
The VA need to get it together.
Well, yeah, and again, it takes more people to fight. See, what happens to a lot of the veterans is that they don't want to go through the red tape. So when they come home and they go through some challenges, because I went down there with a partner of mine. He had a cancer from Agent Orange. When I walked into the emergency room, I said, well, he's struggling with these symptoms from Agent Orange and his cancer now. She said, straight up told him, go sit over there. So I had to walk away myself. I said, wait a minute, let me walk away and come back here. I know she ain't talking to us like this. But the system, once you're in the VA system, just talking about job-wise, it's very difficult to fire them. So they know this. So people being people can be rude. But these are the struggles. So when it's time for them now, you see people out here on the street, you say, well, they get a job. Won't they do this? Well, you don't know their story. And the classic is, they got help for them at the VA.
Bootstraps.
Yeah. Let's see, they pull them up from the bootstrap. But how can you pull them from the bootstrap when you don't have any boots? You see? So the end result is that's a disservice. So we have to teach not only just the soldiers how to be able to deal with the transition, we have to teach the civilians how to deal with the transition.
Because that's ultimately, because that brings us to the suicide number. Although it's down.
Yeah, but it's 22
a day.
22 a day. Yeah.
It was 25 a day at one point. It's down to 22 a day. I remember getting a call, the friend of a friend. They all came home with him. And they were just executing. One girl jumped up in her bed, just killed everybody. Right? It's just amazing of the stories when they came home or what was happening. He lost everybody that came home with him. He lost them.
I was in a PTSD group. It was 10 of us. There's only 3 of us. The other 7 killed themselves to suicide. I got the last call. Now it'll be a year, a little bit before COVID, and talked to my brother. He's ready to have, and he was a Caucasian fellow, but he's still my brother, battling arms. So he said, "Yeah, man, he's in New York. Hey, man, I'm getting ready to have my little girl. It will be a couple of weeks. Everything hunky dory, right?" Next thing I get that call, he took his life. See, these I call them demons. These demons are real, and they don't let up. Matter of fact, to be perfectly honest with y'all, I had probably the most significant nightmare I had maybe in a few months, just 2 nights ago. It was horrific. 30 minutes of battling this, I call it this demonic thing. And when I came out, I said, devil, I beat you. But it's horrific. And so, if you get, I like to always say I'm the poster child. Everything they taught me, everything I learned, I try to use it to my advantage. And the advantage of it is that I got God in my life too. So I always got the scripture. But that don't mean I ain't gonna get attacked, you see. So the battles are unbelievable. If I showed y'all my x-rays, my MRIs, you'd be mind blown. You'd literally be mind blown. I got more x-rays, MRIs, and CAT scans you can imagine. Because I got jacked up for 2.5 years. I was laid up. This guy shouldn't even be sitting here. But this is what I mean by you either take life lessons, you make them life lessons from your experience, or you'll make them a life sentence. A lot of people get caught in the sentence. They are prisoners in their mind and their spirit and their emotions forever and a day, and they never let up. So when I see a brother, the first thing I try to do, if I see him on the street, I try to give him hope. Give him hope.
That's everything.
Blessings.
Thank you, Dave. That's really just a part of, and on top of that, he's a dad. You see, the things that we need to save our lives are amazing. Tomorrow is the beginning of Fatherhood Unity Month.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of Fatherhood Unity Month. We're going to be going all month. Boog, next Monday, we got a brother that's going to be on for Fatherhood Unity, Khalid Scott. And we gonna get it in, right? And all kind of his fatherhood story, everything, right? But Dave, I think about the many people that I know that went to the military. Now we talking about suicide, but just think about that, right? Let's say the trauma, right? That those things brought, and then down here, the trauma that's in a kid's life to where 5 years old, they don't want to live. The war zone, that they're living in is very heartbreaking. right? When you see a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old boy, I couldn't imagine what you was looking at, but what you were looking at, but looking at this dynamic for the Smash Suicide campaign. He's 6, he's 7, he's 10. Gone.
Yeah. And it's even more with veterans. Like I was telling you on our prayer call, Zoom meeting, that my eyes have seen a lot. I've taken people off beams who have hung themselves. I've taken people down who have doused themselves with gasoline. I've seen people shoot half their head and live. This is the kicking part. They live, and the stories they tell. I've taken girls who have taken their lives. We have come in and the whole family wiped out. See, like I said, I've seen a lot. I saw a man, my first bad incident was a man cut his own private. And we come there and, just devastated. Just these demons are real and they're powerful and they come from different things. So the child of a father or a mother that took their life has a higher probability of taking their life. And so that's why it's so important that both parents be in the household in the sense of co-parenting for sure, because this way, they can bounce off things. But you have to teach, we talk about healthy masculinity, we have to teach healthy relationships. We have to teach how to co-parent. We have to teach so many things because the child will be impacted by the influence of those who's leading them, mother, father, both, whatever the case may be. But, oh, man, it's real.
It's real.
It's real.
It's real. And that's why, like you, I guess I did a life bit, too, in the community.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
36 years.
No doubt, man. You put it in. You put it in. That's why I boast about you.
36 years, right, of working. And, yeah, I've seen a lot. You see a lot, Dave. You've seen a lot. And, again, I thank you, man. We Heather, if you'd like to add, go ahead. We're winding this thing down. But, yeah, I appreciate that, Dave. Like, the day we met, you, out of everybody, Dave asked questions, right? And he was listening. Everybody, my man, he jumped quick. My man that brought me ain't never been.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that brought me ain't never been. Right. You ain't seen him.
Right, ain't seen him.
You got something?
Well, we know that was divine design.
That's divine design.
Absolutely. Again, Dave, Book, I just want to thank you for your service. I had a relationship with my father, and in my father's journey, he was in the Navy. Mm-hmm. In my father's journey, he shared a lot about what he had seen. Mm-hmm. And he admitted that for the things that he had seen, that he would not and could not be the same. Mm-hmm. And so, but what he decided to do was to take some of the life lessons, as you mentioned, and to turn them into his story, integrate those lessons into his story, what he could do better, how he could help others, and recognizing his part in the things that he had to do or he was commissioned to do. And so it didn't mean that he forgot them. It just meant that he had to put them into some perspective so that he could survive and he could take care of his family. Mm-hmm. My father and his brothers were military. My father's uncles were military men too. And so that they were their example, and further on in our history as well. So it's something when you see that part of a legacy go down into generations. My brother also was in the military. He was a Marine because my uncle was a Marine, and then my great uncle was a Marine. And so that history of what, and now his daughter is in the Navy. So that's another generation of us that, has decided to choose service as part of their contribution and part of their purpose. Mm-hmm. So again, I want to thank you. I want to thank all of those veterans who have taken that step to do something that is often a thankless cost to you and to your family and to, even like you said, your mental health. So it's not an easy choice, but a choice that you made based on the set of circumstances that you were given. For my family, it was something that was generational, and it was a way for each to do their part. And this is what they felt was their contribution to our world. So I appreciate them for that. I do want to just kind of wrap up because I see we're running out of time. I do want to just make sure that for those who are family members of veterans, for those who are family members of those who have served, that we still have a responsibility to keep that story alive. That we are the ones who honor and lift them up, and we are the ones who have to support them and the choices that they've made and what happens next in our generation, what we're responsible to do. So in celebrating and acknowledging all of the gains and the losses, that we honor each one of those of us who have stepped up in service, period. Not just military service, but in service to others, in service to humanity, because that truly is one of the reasons why we are here. We are here to serve others and to make the world a better place. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll real fast. Like I always tell people, everybody thank us for our service. I say, but you serve too. If the janitor ain't there, place ain't clean. If the guy wiping the windows, it ain't clean. So we all contribute to everything to make this thing called life a better place.
Man, if they could just get out of this, you know what I mean? Like all the great contributions. So I don't want to, I agree with you. So, you know, thank you again to all the veterans, Dave, Mr. Miller. Thank you to the many people who sacrificed book. Thank you. I think we need to understand what sacrifice and help and looks like, right? And as Dave was just saying, I always said, isn't it amazing of the contributions that we have contributed in this world from all people? Mm-hmm. And if we all could just accept the fact that we do great things mm-hmm. and get out the way, we might have cured mm-hmm. cancer. We might have cured diabetes. Mm-hmm. We might have, right? If we can just get out and the biggest construct in that middle is racism. Mm-hmm. It's nepotism. It's plagiarism. These things are in the way mm-hmm. from the United States being great. I often say it just makes no sense that the United States is not, when they open up the borders, the United States should have been running. We should have been running all these other countries. Mm-hmm. Just my philosophy because of what we've created and done. But to make it short, right? I'll say this as simple as I can. Beautiful is the only way to say family. Mm-hmm. It is up to us to bring this world into a better look and leave it better than what we've seen. And with that, remember, always, get the best out of your people. Mm-hmm. Get the best out of your sons and daughters. But more importantly, get the best out of your family. Love each other and cherish each other. My name is Calvin Mann. Encourage me. I'm young. Peace.
Yeah.
I live in a family barbecue. Cruise around Bella Park. Taste my favorite apple It's a blessing. Now that we grown, we tougher than ever. Even if it go from bad to worse, we still where we hurt. Make sure my baby girl tight. And make sure that I fed my first. Let's start the game over. Back to the way things were. It's all about the kids, so put your family first. Let's start the game over. Back to the way things were. It's all about the kids. kitchen. I'm sitting at the dining room table writing to say my blessings. Now I feel like there's something is missing. It wasn't about taking, it was all about giving. Back in the days, they really knew how to live. Because every